This is from chapter 2 of this book by Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. I was reading it last night and it really resonated, I guess you could say. I thought of how he elucidates the ego. So I wanted to share it to help you. The illusory self. The word I embodies the greatest error and the deepest truth, depending on how it is used. In conventional usage, it is not only one of the most frequently used words in the language, together with the related words me, my, mine, and myself, but also one of the most misleading. In normal everyday usage, I embodies the primordial error, a misconception of who you are, an illusory an illusory sense of identity. This is the ego. This illusory sense of self is what Albert Einstein, who had deep insights not only into the reality of space and time, but also into human nature, referred to as an optical illusion of consciousness. That illusory self then becomes the basis for all further interpretations, or rather misinterpretations of reality, all thought processes, interactions, and relationships. Your reality becomes a reflection of the original illusion. The good news is, if you can recognize illusion as illusion, it dissolves. The recognition of illusion is also its ending. Its survival depends on your mistaking it for reality. In the seeing of who you are not, the reality of who you are emerges by itself. This is what happens as you slowly and carefully read this and the next chapter, which are the mechanics of the false self we call the ego. So what is the nature of this illusory self? What you usually refer to when you say I is not who you are, but a monstrous act of reductionism. The infinite depth of who you are is confused with a sound produced by the vocal cords or the thought of I in your mind, and whatever the I has identified with. So what do the usual I and the related me, my, or mine refer to? When a young child learns that a sequence of sounds produced by the parent's vocal cords is his or her name, the child begins to equate a word which in the mind becomes a thought, which with who he or she is. At that stage, some children refer to themselves in the third person. Johnny is hungry. Soon after, they learn the magic word I and equate it with their name, which they have already equated with who they are. Then other thoughts come and emerge with the original I thought. The next step are thoughts of me and mine to designate thoughts that are somehow part of I. This is identification with objects, which means investing things, but ultimately thoughts that represent things with a sense of self, thereby deriving an identity from them. When my toy breaks or is taken away, intense suffering arises, not because of any intrinsic value that the toy has. The child will soon lose interest in it, and it will be replaced by other toys, other objects. But because of the thought of mine, the toy became part of the child's developing sense of self, of I. And so as the child grows up, the original I thought attracts other thoughts to itself. It becomes identified with a gender, possessions, and sense-perceived body, a nationality, race, religion, profession. Other things that I identifies with are roles: mother, father, husband, wife, so on. Accumulated knowledge or opinions, likes and dislikes, and also things that happened to me in the past, the memory of which are thoughts that further define my sense of self as me and my story. These are only some of the things people derive their sense of identity from. They are ultimately no more than thoughts held together precariously by the fact that they are all invested with a sense of self. This mental construct is what you normally refer to when you say I. To be more precise, most of the time, It is not you who speaks when you say or think I, but some aspect of that mental construct, the egoic self. Once you awaken, you will use the word I, but it will come from a much deeper place within you. Most people are still completely identified with the incessant stream of mind, of compulsive thinking, most of it repetitive and pointless. There is no I apart from their thought processes and the emotions that go with them. This is the meaning of being spiritually unconscious. When told that there is a voice in their head that never stops speaking, they say, "What voice?" or angrily deny it, which, of course, is the voice, is the thinker, is the unobserved mind. It could almost be looked upon as an entity that has taken possession of them. Some people never forget the first time they disidentified from their thoughts and thus briefly experienced this shift in identity from being the content of their mind to being the awareness in the background. For others, it happens in such a subtle way they hardly notice it, or they just notice an influx of joy or inner peace without knowing the reason. Yeah, I don't even know what to say after that. That's something to think about. Whew. A question would be valuable. With all of that, who are you? What is it that you associate the idea of I to? Your identity, the things that have happened in the past, your story, the things that you tolerate in your life, substances, habits, people, workplaces, tasks that you do. What is it that you associate to I? That chapter is the basis of the beginning of deconstructing one's own self. And from deconstructing that and understanding it, self-development is what is able to start, which is building the new narrative, the new story of your identity that you grow into. And being able to understand that what happened is not erased in history. It is permanent, but the way that you associate to it, your thoughts, understanding. There's a quote in Taylor Swift's 1989 album where she says, "You are the only one who gets to decide what you are remembered for." And I really think that what she meant with that is when you become conscious and aware of your own beingness, your life, your power, your potential, that you are here on this earth, and that is the first and greatest win. From that, you are the one who now is responsible for taking accountability of the fact that you are now here at this time. If you haven't been conscious up until this point, well, now is the point that you are conscious and understand that you have the power to change your life. You're the only one who gets to decide what you're remembered for. Well, how do you do that? Smart goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic. You can track them with time. Write out the new narrative and then start embodying that identity. I'll let you guys know how the rest of the book goes. I'm excited for it. It's on that Oprah's Club. I hope you have a beautiful day. This is Epicworld. Peace out.